Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter number 16, verse number 65. We will continue from Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangum Langate Kirim Kripatam Vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Hayam. Verse number 65. Tahan Siddhi Kare Hena Anye Na Dekhiye Amar Dushkar Karma Tuma Haite Hai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, you can perform a task that even I cannot do, but for you I cannot find anyone in Gauradesh who can fulfill my mission there. Purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Chaitanya's mission is to deliver the fallen souls of this age. In this age of Kali, practically 10% of the population is fallen. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu certainly delivered many fallen souls, but his disciples mainly came from the upper classes. For example, he delivered Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and many others who were socially elevated but fallen from the spiritual point of view. Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis were situated in government service, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the topmost scholar of India. Similarly, Prakashanand Saraswati was a leader of many thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis. It was Srila Nityananda Prabhu, however, who delivered persons like Jagai and Madhai. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, Amar Dushkar Karma Tuma Haite Hai. Jagai and Madhai were delivered solely by Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. When they injured Nityananda Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya became angry and decided to kill them with his Sudarshan Chakra, but Nityananda Prabhu saved them from the Lord's wrath and delivered them. In the incarnation of Gauranitai, the Lord is not supposed to kill demons, but is supposed to deliver them by preaching Krishna consciousness. In the case of Jagai and Madhai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so angry that he would immediately kill them. But Nityananda Prabhu was so kind that he did not save them from the death, but elevated them to the transcendental position. Thus what he was not supposed to do, Thus, what was not possible for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was carried out by Nityananda Prabhu. Similarly, if one is true to Gauranitai's service in the disciplic succession, he can even excel Nityananda Prabhu's service. This is the process of disciplic succession. Nityananda Prabhu delivered Jagai Madhai, but a servant of Nityananda Prabhu by his grace can deliver many thousands of Jagais and Madhais. That is the special benediction of the disciplic succession. One who is situated in the disciplic succession can be understood by the result of his activities. This is always true as far as the activities of the Lord and his devotees are concerned. Therefore, Lord Shiva says, Aradhana Nam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Of all types of worship, worship of Lord Vishnu is best, and better than worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotee, the Vaishnav. This is from Padma Puran. By the grace of Vishnu, a Vaishnav can render better service than Vishnu. That is the special prerogative of a Vaishnav. The Lord actually wants to see his servants working more gloriously than himself. For instance, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Shri Krishna provoked Arjun to fight because all the warriors on the battlefield were to die by Krishna's plan. Krishna himself did not want to take credit, rather he wanted Arjun to take credit. Therefore he asked him to fight and win fame. Tasmat tvam utishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhunkshva rajyam samriddham maya vaite nihatah Purvam eva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. Therefore get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. This is from Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 11, verse 33. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives credit to a devotee who performs any heavy task perfectly. Hanumanji or Bajrang Ji, the servant of Lord Ramchandra, serves as another example. It was Hanumanji who jumped over the sea in one leap and reached the shore of Lanka from the shore of Bharatvarsh. When Lord Ramchandra chose to go there, he paved the way with stones, although by his will the stones were able to float on the sea. If we simply follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions and follow in the footsteps of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, this Krishna consciousness movement can advance, and even more difficult tasks can be performed by the preachers remaining faithful to the service of the Lord. Verse 66. Nityananda kahe ami deha tumi prana, deha prana bhinna nahe, eita pramana. Nityanand Prabhu replied, O Lord, you are the life and I am the body. There is no difference between the body and the life itself, but life is more important than the body. Verse 67. Achintya Shakte karatumi tahar ghatana ghatan ye karaha se kari nahika niyama. By your inconceivable energy, you can do whatever you like, and whatever you make me do, I do without restriction. Purport, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya na Adye Lavayate Kavaye, not Lavayate, Kavaye. Brahma is the first living creature within this universe, and he is also the creator of this universe. How is this possible? Although he is the first living entity, Lord Brahma is not in the category of Vishnu Tattva. Rather, he is part of the Jiva Tattva. Nonetheless, by the grace of Lord who instructed him through the heart, Tene Brahma Hridaya, Lord Brahma could create the huge universe. Those who are actually pure devotees of the Lord are instructed by the Lord through the heart. Where the Lord is always situated, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 18.61. If he follows the instructions of Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, even though an insignificant creature, can perform the most difficult tasks by Lord's grace. Lord Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad-Gita 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everything is possible for pure devotee because he acts under the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Through his inconceivable energy, a pure devotee can perform tasks that are supposed to be very difficult. He can perform tasks not even previously performed by the Lord himself. Therefore, Nityananda Prabhu told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ye karaha se kari nahika niyama. I do not know by what regulative principle I am carrying out this wonderful work, but I know for certain that I will do whatever you desire. Although the Lord wants to give all credit to his devotee, the devotee himself never takes credit, for he acts only under the Lord's direction. Consequently, all credit goes to the Lord. This is the nature of the relationship between the Lord and his devotee. The Lord wants to give all credit to his servant, but the servant does not take any credit, for he knows that everything is carried out by the Lord. So Nityananda Prabhu was saying, Lord, you are life. I am the body to Lord, in previous verse which we were reading. So moving on to verse number 68. Tanre vidaya dila prabhu kari alingana ei mata vidaya dila prabhu bhaktagana. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Nityananda Prabhu and bade him farewell. He then bade farewell to all the other devotees. Verse number 69. Kulina grami purvavat kaila nivedana prabhu ajna kara amar kartavya sadhana. As in the previous year, one of the inhabitants of Kulin Gram submitted a petition to the Lord saying, "My Lord, kindly tell me what my duty is and how I should execute it." Verse 70. Prabhu kahe Vaishnav seva naam sankirtan dui kara shigra pabe Shri Krishna charana. The Lord replied, "You should engage yourself in the service of the servants of Krishna and always chant the holy name of Krishna. If you do these two things, you will very soon attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet." Verse number 71. Teno kahe ke Vaishnav ki tanra lakshana tabe hasi kahe Prabhu jani tanra mana. The inhabitant of Kulingram said, "Please let me know who is actually a Vaishnav and what his symptoms are." Understanding his mind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and gave the following reply. Verse number 72. Krishna Nam Nirantara Yanhara Vadane Sai Vaishnav Shrestha Bhaja Tanhara Charanai. A person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first-class Vaishnav, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. Purport Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that any Vaishnav who is constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord should be considered to have attained the second platform of Vaishnavism. Such a devotee is superior to a neophyte Vaishnav who has just learned to chant the holy name of the Lord. A neophyte devotee simply tries to chant the holy name, whereas the advanced devotee is accustomed to chanting and takes pleasure in it. Such an advanced devotee is called Madhyam Bhagavata, which indicates that he has attained the intermediate stage between the neophyte and the perfect devotee. Generally, a devotee in the intermediate stage becomes a preacher. A neophyte devotee or an ordinary person should worship the Madhyam Bhagavat, who is via medium. In his Upadeshamrita, text 5, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Pranati Bhish Cha Bhajantam Isham. This means that Madhyam Adhikari devotees should exchange obeisances between themselves. The word Nirantar means without cessation, continuously, constantly. Is very important in this verse. The word Antara means interval. If one has desires other than a desire to perform devotional service, in other words, if one sometimes engages in devotional service and sometimes strives for sense gratification, his service will be interrupted. A pure devotee should have no desire other than to serve Krishna. He should be above fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. In his Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.11, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anya Bhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. This is the platform of pure devotional service. One should not be motivated by fruitive activity or mental speculation, but should simply serve Krishna favorably. This is the first class devotion. Another meaning of Antara is this body. The body is an impediment to self-realization because it is always engaged in sense gratification. Similarly, Antara means money. If money is not used in Krishna's service, it is also impediment. Antara also means Janata, people in general. The association of ordinary person may destroy the principles of devotional service. Similarly, Antara may mean greed to acquire more money or enjoy more sense gratification. Finally, the word Antara may also mean atheistic ideas, by which one considers the temple deity to be made of stone, wood, or gold. All of these are impediments. The deity in the temple is not material. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Similarly, considering the spiritual master an ordinary human being, Gurushu Naram Matihi is also an impediment. Nor should one consider a Vaishnava member of a particular caste or nation. Nor should a Vaishnava be considered material. Charnamrit should not be considered ordinary drinking water. And the holy name of the Lord should not be considered an ordinary sound vibration. Nor should one look on Lord Krishna as an ordinary human being, for he is the origin of all the Vishnu Tattvas. Nor should one regard the Supreme Lord as a demigod. Intermingling the spiritual with the material causes one to look on transcendence as material and the mundane as spiritual. This is all due to a poor fund of knowledge. One should not consider Lord Vishnu and things related to him as being different. All this is offensive. In the Bhakti Sandarbha 265, Srila Jiva Goswami writes, Namaikam yasya vachi smarana pathagatam iti adau deha dravinadi nimittaka pashanda shabdena cha dasha aparadha lakshyante pashanda mayatvat tesham. In the verse beginning, Namaikam yasya, we find the word pashanda or the godlessness. The word literally indicates misuse of one's body or property, but in this verse it implies the 10 offenses against the Lord's holy name, since each of these leads to such godless behavior. The Mayavadis look on Vishnu and Vaishnavas imperfectly due to their poor fund of knowledge, and this is condemned in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.46. The intermediate Vaishnava is described as follows: Ishware tad adhineshu balisheshu dvishashatsu cha prema maitri kripo peksha yaha karoti sa madhyamaha. The intermediate Vaishnava has to love God, make friends with the devotees, instruct the innocent, and reject jealous people. These are the 4 functions of the Vaishnava in the intermediate stage. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 22.64, Sri Sanatana Goswami is taught, Shraddhavan Janhaya Bhakti Adhikari Uttam Madhyam Kanishta Shraddha Anusari. One who is faithful is a proper candidate for devotional service. In terms of one's degree of faith in devotional service, one is a first class, second class, or neophyte Vaishnav. Shastra Yukti Nahi Jane Drida Shraddhavan Madhyam Adhikari Se Mahabhagyavan. One who has attained the intermediate stage is not very advanced in Shastric knowledge, but he has firm faith in the Lord. Such a person is very fortunate to be situated on the intermediate platform. CC Madhya Lila 22.67. Rati Prema Tartamye Bhakta Taratma. Attraction with and love for God are the ultimate goal of devotional service. The degrees of such attraction and love distinguish the different stages of devotion: neophyte, intermediate, and perfectional. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.71. An intermediate devotee is greatly attracted to chanting the holy name, and by chanting he is elevated to the platform of love. If one chants the holy name of the Lord with great attachment, he can understand his position as an eternal servant of the spiritual master. Other Vaishnavas and Krishna himself, thus the intermediate Vaishnava considers himself Krishna Das, Krishna's servant. He therefore preaches Krishna consciousness to innocent neophytes and stresses the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. An intermediate devotee can identify the non-devotee or motivated devotee. The motivated devotee or the non-devotee are on the material platform and they are called Prakrita. The intermediate devotee does not mix with such materialistic people. However, he understands that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and everything related to him are on the same transcendental platform. Actually, none of them are mundane. Verse 73. Varshantare punah tanra aiche prashna kaila Vaishnavera tartamya prabhu shikhaila. The following year, the inhabitants of Kulingram asked the Lord the same question. Hearing this question, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again taught them about the different types of Vaishnavas. Verse 74. Yanhar darshane mukhe aise Krishna naam tanhare janiha tumi Vaishnav pradhan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, a first-class Vaishnav is he whose very presence can make others chant the holy name of Krishna. Purport: Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, if an observer immediately remembers the holy name of Krishna upon seeing a Vaishnav, that Vaishnav should be considered a Mahabhagavat, a first-class devotee. Such a Vaishnava is always aware of his Krishna conscious duty and he is enlightened in self-realization. He is always in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his love is without adulteration. Because of this love, he is always awake to transcendental realization. Because he knows that Krishna consciousness is the basis of knowledge and action, he sees everything as being connected with Krishna. Such a person is able to chant the holy name of Krishna perfectly. Such a Mahabhagavat Vaishnav has the transcendental eyes to see who is sleeping under the spell of Maya, and he engages himself in awakening sleeping conditioned beings by spreading the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. He opens eyes that are closed by forgetfulness of Krishna. Thus, the living entity is liberated from the dullness of material energy and is engaged fully in the service of the Lord. The Madhyam Adhikari Vaishnav can awaken others to Krishna consciousness and engage them in duties whereby they can advance. It is therefore said in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 6, verse 279, Loha ke yavat sparshi hema nahi kare tavat sparsha mani keha chinite na pare. One cannot understand the value of touchstone until it turns iron into gold. One should judge by action, not by promises. A Mahabhagavat can turn a living entity from abominable material life to the Lord's service. This is the test of Mahabhagavat. Although preaching is not meant for Mahabhagavat, a Mahabhagavat can descend to the platform of Madhyam Bhagavat just to convert others to Vaishnavism. Actually, a Mahabhagavat is fit to spread Krishna consciousness, but he does not distinguish where Krishna consciousness should be spread from and where it should not. He thinks that everyone is competent to accept Krishna consciousness if the chance is provided. A neophyte and intermediate devotee should always be eager to hear the Mahabhagavat and serve him every respect. The neophyte and intermediate devotees can gradually rise to the platform of Uttam Adhikari and become first-class devotees. Symptoms of a first-class devotee are given in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.45. Sarva bhuteshu yah pashyed bhagavat bhavam atmanah bhutani bhagavati atmani esha bhagavatot uttama. The most advanced devotee sees within everything the soul of all the souls, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Consequently, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and understands that everything that exists is eternally situated within the Lord. When teaching Sanatana Goswami, the Lord further said, Shastra yukte sunipuna drida shraddha yanra uttam adhikari se tarye samsara. One who is expert in the Vedic literature and has full faith in the Supreme Lord is an Uttam Adhikari, a first-class Vaishnav, a topmost Vaishnav who can deliver the whole world and turn everyone into Krishna consciousness. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.65. With great love and affection, the Mahabhagavat observes the Supreme Personality of Godhead, devotional care, service, and the devotee. He observes nothing beyond Krishna, Krishna consciousness, and Krishna's devotees. The Mahabhagavat knows that everyone is engaged in the Lord's service in different ways. He therefore descends to middle platform to elevate everyone to the Krishna conscious position. Verse 75. Krama kari kahe Prabhu Vaishnav Lakshana Vaishnav Vaishnavatar Ar Vaishnavatma. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught the distinctions between different types of Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavat Avatar and Vaishnavatma. He thus successively explained all the symptoms of Vaishnav to the inhabitants of Kulingram, verse 76. Ei mata sab Vaishnav gaude chalilas vidyanidhi se vatsara niladri rahila. Finally, all the Vaishnavas returned to Bengal, but the year Pundarik Vidyanidhi remained. That year, Pundarik Vidyanidhi remained at Jagannath Puri, verse 77. Swarup Sahit Tandra Haya Sakhya Priti Dui Janai Krishna Kathai Ekatra Isthiti. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Pundarik Vidyanidhi had a friendly, intimate relationship, and as far as discussing topics about Krishna, they were situated on the same platform. Verse 78. Gadadhar Pandite tenho punah mantra dila odana shashthira dine yatra ye dekhila. Pundarik Vidyanidhi initiated Gadadhar Pandit for the second time, and on the day of Odana Shashti, Pundarik Vidyanidhi saw the festival purport. At the beginning of winter, there is a ceremony called Odana Shashti. This ceremony indicates that from the day onward winter covering should be given to Lord Jagannath. That covering is directly purchased from a weaver. According to the Archan Marg, a cloth should first be washed to remove all the starch, and then it is used to cover the Lord. Pundarik Vidyanidhi saw that the priest neglected to wash the cloth before covering Lord Jagannath. Since he wanted to find some fault in the devotees, he became indignant. Verse 79, Jagannath Parena Tatha Maruya Vasana Dekhiya Sagrina Haila Vidyanidhira Mana. When Pundik Vidyanidhi saw that Lord Jagannath was given a starched garment, he became little hateful. In this way, his mind was polluted. Verse 80, Say Ratre Jagannath Balai Asiya Dui Bhai Chada Na Tanre Hasiya Hasiya. That night the brothers Lord Jagannath and Balram came to Pundarik Vidyanidhi and smiling began to slap him. Verse 81, Gal Phulila Acharya Antare Ullas Vistari Varneya Chena Vṛndāvana Das. Although his cheeks were swollen from the slapping, Pundarik Vidyanidhi was very happy within. This incident has been elaborately described by Thakur Vṛndāvana Das. Verse 82, एमत प्रत्यब्द ऐसे गौड़ेरा भक्तगण प्रभु संगे रही करे यात्रा दर्शना. Every year the devotees of Bengal would come and stay with Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the Rath Yatra festival. Verse 83, Tar madhye ye varshe ache vishesh vistariya age taha kaiba neshesh. Whatever happened during those years that is worth not noting shall be described later. Verse 84, Emata Mahaprabhura Chari Vatsara Gela Dakshina Yana Asite Dui Vatsara Lagila. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed 4 years. He spent the first 2 years on his tour in South India. Verse 85, Ardui Vatsara Chahe Vṛndāvana Yaite Ramananda Hate Prabhu Na Pare Chalite. The other 2 years Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, but he could not leave Jagannath Puri because of Ramananda Rai's tricks. Verse 86, Pancham Vatsare Gaudera Bhakta Gana Aila Rath Dekhi Na Rahila Gaudera Chalita. So Vatsar means year. Reading first of all, I thought that meant Vastra as in Hindi, but no, Vastar is, I think it is right. It is year in Bengali. During the 5th year, the devotees from Bengal came to see Rath Yatra festival. After seeing it, they did not stay but returned to Bengal. Verse 87, Tabe Prabhu Sarvbhauma Ramananda Sthane Alingana Kari Kahe Madhur Vachane. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed a proposal before Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai. He embraced them and spoke sweet words. Verse 88, Bahut utkantha mora yaite Vṛndāvana tumar hate dui vatsar na kailu gaman. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My desire to go to Vrindavan has very much increased. Because of your tricks, I have not been able to go there for the past 2 years. Verse 89, Avashya chaliba dunhe karaha sammati tuma dunha vina mor nahi anyagati. This time I must go. Will you please give me permission? Save for you too. I have no other resort. Verse 90, Goda deshe haya mora dui samashraya janani janavi e dui dayamay. In Bengal, I have 2 shelters, my mother and river Ganges, but both of them are very merciful. Verse 91, Goda desha diya yab tansabha dekhiya tumi dunhe ajna deha prasanna hena. I shall go to Vrindavan through Bengal and see both my mother and river Ganges. How would you two be pleased to give me permission? Verse 91. I'll repeat it again. Goda desha diya yahan tan sab dekhiya, tumi dunhe ajna deha prasanna hai na. I shall go to Vṛndāvana through Bengal and see both my mother and the river Ganges. Now would you to be pleased to go to give me permission? Verse 92. Shunya Prabhura Vani Mane Vicharya Prabhu Sane Ati Hatha Kabhu Bhal Naya. When Sarvam Bhattacharya and Ramananda Rai heard these words, they began to consider that it was not at all good that they had played so many tricks on the Lord. Verse 93. Dune kahe ebe varsha chalite nariba Vijay Dashmi aile avash chaliba. They both said, now that the rainy season is here, it will be difficult for you to travel. It is better to wait for Vijayadashmi before departing for Vrindavan. Verse 94. Anande Mahaprabhu Varsha Kaila Samadhana Vijayadashmi Dine Karila Payan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to thus receive their permission. He waited until the rainy season passed, and when the day of Vijayadashmi arrived, he departed for Vrindavan. Verse 95. Jagannathera Prasad Prabhu Yat Panchila Kadar Chandan Dora Soba Sange Laila. The Lord collected whatever remnants of food were left by Lord Jagannath. He also took remnants of Lord's Kadara ointment, sandalwood and ropes with him. Verse 96. Jagannathe ajna magi prabhate chalila uriya bhakta gana sange pache chali aila. After taking Lord Jagannath's permission, early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed and all the devotees of Orissa began following him. Verse 97. Uriya Bhakta Gane Prabhu Yatne Nivarila Nij Gana Sange Prabhu Bhavanipur Aila. With great care, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forbade the Orissan devotees to follow him. Then, accompanied by his personal associates, he first went to Bhavanipur. One goes through Bhavanipur before reaching a well-known place called Janak Devi Pura or Janaki Devi Pura. Verse 90. Ramananda Aila Pache Dolaya Chadiya Vaninath Bahu Prasad Dila Pathana. After Lord Chaitanya reached Bhavanipur, Ramananda Rai arrived on his palanquin and Vaninath Rai had a large quantity of prasadam sent to the Lord. Verse 99. Prasad bhojan kari tathaye rahila prata kale chari prabhu bhuvaneshwara aila. After taking prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained there for the night. Early in the morning, he began walking and finally he reached Bhuvaneshwar. This was verse 99. Now verse number 100. Katake Asya Kaila Gopala Darshana Swapneshwara Vipra Kaila Prabhura Nimantrana. After reaching the city of Katak, he saw the temple of Gopal and a Brahman there named Swapneshwar invited the Lord to eat. Verse number 101. Ramananda Rai Sab Gane Nimantrila Pahira Udyane Asi Prabhu Vas Kaila. Ramananda Rai invited all the others to for their meals, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made his resting place in a garden outside the temple. Verse 102. Bhikshakari Bakula Taleb Karila Vishram Pratap Rudra Thani Rai Karila Payan. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taking rest beneath a Bakula tree, Ramananda Rai immediately went to Maharaj Pratap Rudra. This was verse number 102. So moving on to verse number 103. Shuni Anandita Raja Ati shigra aila Prabhu dekhi dandavat bhumete padila. The king was very happy to hear the news, and he hastily went there. Upon seeing the Lord, he fell flat to offer him obeisances. Verse number 104. Puna uthe puna pade pranay vivala stuti kare pulakanga pade ashru jala. Being overwhelmed with love, the king again and again got up and fell down. When he offered prayers, his whole body shivered and tears fell from his eyes. Verse 105. Tanra bhakti dekhi Prabhura tushta haila mana uthi Mahaprabhu tanre kaila lingana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to see the devotion of the king, and he therefore stood up and embraced him. Verse 106. Punah stuti kare raja kare pranam Prabhu kripa ashrute tanra deha haila snan. When the Lord embraced the king again and again offered prayers and obeisances. In this way, the Lord's mercy brought tears from the king, and the Lord's body was bathed with these tears. Verse 107. Sustha kari Ramananda Rajare Vasaila Kai Mano Vakye Prabhu Tanre Kripa Kaila. Finally, Ramananda Rai pacified the king and made him sit down. The Lord bestowed mercy upon him through his body, mind, and words. Verse 108. Aiche Tanhare Kripa Kaila Gora Rai Prataprudra Santarata Nama Haila Yai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed such mercy to the king that from that day on, the Lord became known as Prataprudra Santarata, the deliverer of Maharaj Prataprudra. Verse 109. Raja Patra Gana Kaila Prabhura Vandan Rajare Viday Dila Shachira Nandan. All the governmental officers also paid the respects to the Lord, and finally the king and his men were bade farewell by the son of Mother Shachi. Verse 110. Bahire Asi Raja Ajna Patra Lekhaila Nij Rajya Yata Vishay Tahare Pathaila. The king then went outside and had orders written down and sent to the government servants within his kingdom. Verse 111. Grame Grame Nutan Avas Kariba Pancha Sat Navya Grihe Samagriye Bhariba. His orders read, in every village you should construct a new residences, and in 5 or 7 new houses you should store all kinds of food. Verse 112. Apani Prabhu ke lena tahan utariba ratri diba vetra haste sevai rahiba. You should personally take the Lord to these newly constructed houses. Day and night you should engage in his service with a stick in your hands. Verse 113. Dui Mahapatra Harichandan Mardaraj Tanre Ajna Dila Raja Kariya Sarva Kaya. The king ordered 2 respectable officers named Harichandan and Mardaraj to do whatever was necessary to carry out these orders. Verse 114 and 15. Eka Navya Nauka Ani Rakha Nadi Tire Yahan Snan Kari Prabhu Yana Nadi Pare Tahan Stambha Ropan Kara Maha Tirthakari Nitya Snan Kariba Tahan Yena Mari. The king also ordered them to maintain a new boat on the banks of the river, and wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath or crossed to the other side of the river, they should establish a memorial column and make that place a great place of pilgrimage. Indeed, said the king, I will take my bath there, and let me also die there. Verse 116. Chaturdware Karaha Uttam Navyavas Ramananda Yaha Tumi Mahaprabhu Pash. The king continued, at Chaturdwar, please construct new residential quarters. Now Ramananda, you can return to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 117. Sandhyate Chalibe Prabhu Nripati Shunila Hasti Upar Tambu Grihe Stri Gane Chadaila. When the king heard that the Lord was leaving that evening, he immediately made arrangements for some elephants with some small tents on their backs to be brought there. Then all the ladies of the palace got on the elephant. Verse 118. प्रभुरा चलिबार पथे रहे सारी हेना, संध्याते चलिला प्रभु निज गण लेना. All these ladies went to the road, and the Lord was taking and remained there in a line. That evening the Lord departed with his devotees. Verse 119. चित्रोत्पल नदी आसी घटे कैला स्नान, महिषी सकल देखी करये pranam. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the bank of the river Chitrotpala to take his bath, all the queens and ladies of the palace offered their obeisances to him. Verse 120. Prabhura darshane sabe haila prema may, Krishna Krishna kahe netra ashru varishaya. Upon seeing the Lord, they all felt themselves overwhelmed with the love of Godhead, and tears pouring from their eyes, they began to chant the holy name Krishna Krishna. Verse 121. Emana kripalu nahi shuni tribhuvane, Krishna prema haya yanra dura darshane. There is no one as merciful as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within all the three worlds. Simply by seeing him from a distance, one is overwhelmed with the love of Godhead. Verse 122. Naukate chadiya prabhu haila nadi par, jyotsnavati ratre chali aila chaturdwar. The Lord then got into a new boat and crossed the river. Walking in the full moonlight, he finally reached the town known as Chaturdwara. Verse 123. Ratre tatha rahi prate snan kritye kaila, hena kale jagannathera mahaprasad aila. The Lord spent the night there, and in the morning took his bath. At that time, remnants of Lord Jagannath's food arrived. Verse 124. Rajara ajnaya padicha Pathaye dine dine bahut prasad pathaye diya bahujane. Following the king's orders, the superintendent of the temple sent large quantities of prasadam every day, and it was carried by many persons. Verse 125. Swagana sahite prabhu prasad angikari Uthiya Chalila Prabhu Bali Hari Hari. After accepting the prasadam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and started to go, chanting the holy names Hari Hari. Verse 126. Ramananda Mardaraj Shri Harichandana Sange Seva Kari Chale Eiti Nachana. Ramananda Rai Mardaraj and Shri Harichandan always went with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and rendered various services. Verse number 127 to 129, they are together. Prabhu Sange Puri Gosani Swarup Damodar Jagadanand Mukund Govind Kashishwar. Haridas Thakur R. Pandit Vakreshwar Gopinathacharya R. Pandit Damodar Ramay Nandai R. Bahu Bhakt Gana Pradhan Kahilun Sabar Ke Kare Ganana. Paramananda Puri Goswami Swarup Damodar Jagadanand Mukund Govind Kashishwar Haridas Thakur Vakreshwar Pandit Gopinathacharya Damodar Pandit Ramay Nandai and many other devotees accompanied the Lord. I have mentioned only the chief devotees. No one can describe the total number. Verse number 130. Gadadhar Pandit Yabe Sangete Chalila Kshetre Sanyasa Na Chadiya Prabhu Nishedhila. When Gadadhar Pandit started to go with the Lord, he was forbidden to come and was asked not to give up the vow of Kshetra Sannyas. When one takes Kshetra Sannyas, he leaves his household life and goes to a place of pilgrimage devoted to Lord Vishnu. Such places include Purushottam, that is Jagannath Puri, Navadvip Dham and Mathura Dham. The Kshetra Sannyasi lives in these places alone or with his family. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur considers Kshetra Sannyas to be the preferable Vanprastha situation in this age of Kali. Savam Bhattacharya lived in this way, and he has been called a Kshetra Sannyasi, that is the sannyasi living in Jagannath Puri. Verse 131. Pandit kahe yahan tumi say nilachala kshetra sannyas mora yauka rasatala. Rasatal means hell. When he was requested to return to Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit told the Lord, wherever you are staying is Jagannath Puri, let my so-called kshetra sannyas go to hell. Verse 132. Prabhu kahe inha kar gopinath sevana, Pandit kahe koti seva tvat pada darshana. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Gadadhar Pandit to remain at Jagannath Puri and engage in Gopinath's service, Gadadhar Pandit replied, "One renders service to Gopinath 1,000,000 times simply by seeing your lotus feet." Verse 133. प्रभु कहे सेवा छाड़ी पे आमाए लागे दोष, इन्हा रही सेवा कर amar santosh. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, "If you abandon his service, it will be my fault. It is better that you remain here and render service. That will be my satisfaction." Verse 134. Pandit kahe sab dosh amar upar, tuma sange na yaiba ekeshwar. The Pandit replied, "Do not worry, all the faults will be on my head. I shall not accompany you, but shall go alone." Verse 135. Aike dekhite yaiba na yaiba tomalagi, pratijana seva tyag dosh tar ami bhagi. I shall go to see Sachimata, but I shall not go for your sake. I shall be responsible for abandoning my vow and service to Gopinath. Verse 136. Etabali Pandit Gosani Prithak Chalila, Katak Asi Prabhu Tanre Sange Anaila. Thus Gadadhar Pandit Goswami traveled alone, but when they all travelled at Katak, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him and he went into the Lord's company. Verse 137. Panditera Gauranga Prema Bujhana Nayaye, Pratijana Shri Krishna Seva Chadila Trina Praya. No one can understand the loving intimacy between Gadadhar Pandit and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit gave up his vow and service to Gopinath just as one gives up a piece of straw, purport. Just to get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association, Gadadhar Pandit gave up his life's vow to engage in Gopinath's service. This kind of loving affection can be understood only by very confidential devotees. Ordinarily, no one can understand its purport. Verse number 138. Tanhar charitre prabhu antare santosha, tanhar hate dhari kahe kari pranay rosh. Gadadhar Pandit's behavior was so pleasing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart. Nevertheless, the Lord took his hand and spoke to him, displaying the anger of love. Verse 139. Pratijana seva chadi be etomar uddesha se siddha aila chadi aila durdesha. You have abandoned Gopinath's service and broken your own vow to live in Puri. All that is now complete because you have come so far. Verse 140. Amar sange rahite chaha vancha nij sukha, tomar dui dharmayai amar hai dukha. Your wanting to go with me is simply a desire for sense gratification. In this way, you are breaking two religious principles, and because of this, I am very unhappy. Verse number 141. Mora sukha chaha yadi nilachale chala, amar shapat yadi ar kichu bala. If you want my happiness, please return to Nilachal. You will simply condemn me if you say any more about this matter. Verse 142. Etabali Mahaprabhu naukate chadila, Murchit hena pandit tathaye padila. Saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got into a boat and Gadadhar Pandit immediately fell down unconscious. Verse number 143. Pandite lena yaite sarvame ajna dila, bhattacharya kahe uthe aiche prabhu lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Sarvam Bhattacharya to take Gadadhar Pandit with him. The Bhattacharya told Gadadhar Pandit, "Get up, such are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Verse 144. Tumi jana Krishna nitya pratijana chadila, bhakta kripa vashe bhishmera pratijana rakhila. You should know that Lord Krishna himself violated his own promise just to keep the promise of grandfather Bhishma. Verse 145. Swanigamam upahai mat pratijanam ritam adhikartum avapluto rathastha dhrita rathak charano bhayach chaladgur harir ivhantum ibham gato tariyah. Intending to make my promise true, Lord Krishna broke his own promise not to take up a weapon at Kurukshetra. With his outer garment falling off, Lord Krishna jumped from his chariot, picked up a wheel and came running at me to kill me. Indeed, he rushed at me like a lion going to kill an elephant, and he caused the whole earth to tremble. Lord Krishna promised not to fight in the battle. This is the purport. Lord Krishna promised not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra or even take up a weapon, but when Bhishma wanted to keep his own promise, to break the promise of the Lord, The Lord immediately got down from the chariot, and to make Bhishma's promise true, he picked up a chariot wheel and rushed forward to kill him. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.37, verse number 146. E mata prabhu tomar vicheda sahiya, tomar pratijna raksha kaila yatna kariya. Similarly, tolerating separation from you, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has protected your vow with great endeavor. Verse 147. E mata kahi tanre prabodha karila dui jana Shokakul Nilachale Aila. In this way, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya received Gadadhar Pandit, then both of them, very much grief-stricken, returned to Jagannath Puri, Nilachal. Verse 148. Prabhu lagi dharma karma chhade bhakta gana, bhakta dharma hani prabhura na haya sahan. All the devotees would abandon all kinds of duties for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sake, yet the Lord did not like the devotees giving up their promised duties. Verse 149. Premera vivarta iha shune ye jana, achire miliye tanre chaitanya charan. All these are the misgivings of loving affairs. Whoever listens to these incidents gets the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet very soon. Verse 150. Dui raja patra ye prabhu sange yai yajapurai asi prabhu tare dilena vidai. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said and his party arrived at Yajapura, the Lord asked the two government officers who had come with him to return. Purport: the place called Yajpura is a very well-known place in Orissa. It is a subdivision of the Cuttack district and is situated on the southern side of Vaitarani river. Formerly, great sages performed sacrifices on the northern bank of the Vaitarani river. Consequently, the place is known as Yajpura, the place where sacrifices are performed. Some people say that this was one of the capital cities of King Yayati, and that from the name Yayati Nagar, the name Yajpura has come, as stated in Mahabharata 1 chapter 14. Ete Kalinga Konteya Yatra Vaitarani Nadi Yatra Yajata Dharmo Api Devan Sharanam Ityave Atra Vai Rishayo Anye Cha Pura Kritubhir Ejere. According to the Mahabharata, great sages formerly performed sacrifices in this place. There are still many temples of demigods and incarnations there, and there is also a deity of Shiv Varadev. This deity is especially important and is visited by many pilgrims. Those who worship the Supreme Lord's energy worship Varahi, Vaishnavi and Indrani, as well as many similar forms of Devi, the internal energy. There are many deities of Lord Shiva, and there are many places along the river known as the Dashavamedh Ghat. Sometimes Yajpura is also called Nabhi Gaya or Virja Kshetra. Verse 151. Prabhu Vidai Dila Rai Yai Tandrasane Krishna Katha Ramananda Sane Ratri Dine. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the officers and Rai Ramananda continued on with the Lord. The Lord talked to Ramananda Rai about Sri Krishna day and night. Verse 152. Prati Grame Raja Ajnai Raja Bhritya Gana Navya Grihe Nana Dravya Karaye Sevana. In each and every village, in compliance with the king's order, the government officers constructed new houses and filled them each with stocks of grains. Thus they served the Lord. Verse 153. E mata chali prabhu remuna aila tatha haite Ramananda Rai vidai dila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at Remuna, where he bade farewell to Sri Ramananda Rai. Purport: it was stated in the first chapter of Madhya Lila, verse 149, that Ramananda Rai was bade farewell from Bhadraka. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur state that in those days the place called Remuna also included Bhadraka. Verse 154. Bhumete Padila Rai Nahika Chetana Rai Kole Kari Prabhu Karaye Karandana. When Ramananda Rai fell to the ground and lost consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took him upon his lap and began to cry. Verse 155. Rayera Vidaya Bhavanayaya Sahana Kahitena Pari Tahar Varnana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation from Ramananda Rai are very difficult to describe. Indeed, it is almost intolerable to do so, and therefore I cannot describe them further. verse 156. तबे ओडरा देश सीमा प्रभु चली आइला तथा राजा अधिकारी प्रभु रे मिलिला. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally arrived at the border of the state of Orissa, a government officer came there to meet him. Verse 157. Dina dui chari tenho karila sevana आगे चली बारे सही कहे विवरण. For 2 or 4 days the government officer served the Lord. He also gave the Lord detailed information of what was ahead. Verse 158. Madhyapa Yavan Rajar Age Madhikar Tandra Bhaye Pathe Keha Nare Chalibar. He informed the Lord that the territory ahead was ruled by a Muslim governor who was a drunkard. Out of fear of this king, no one could walk the road freely. Verse 159. Vichalada Paryanta Sab Tanra Adhikara Tanra Bhaye Nadi Keha Haite Nare Bad. The jurisdiction of the Muslim government extended up to Pichalda. Due to fear of Muslims, no one would cross the river. Purport. During the old days, Pichalda was part of Tamluk and Bengal. Pichalda is located about 14 miles south of Tamluk. The river Rupanarayan is well known as Tamluk, and Pichalda was situated on the bank of the Rupanarayan river. Verse 160. Dinaka keta raha sandhi kari tanra sane tabe sukhe nokate karaiba gamane. Maharaj Prataprudha's government officer further informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he should stay at Orissa border for some days so that a peaceful agreement could be negotiated with the Muslim governor. In that way, the Lord would be able to cross the river peacefully in a boat. Verse number 161. Se kale ye se yavanera ek anuchara udiya katake aila kari Veshantara. At that time, a follower of the Muslim governor arrived at the Orissa encampment dressed in disguise. Verse 162 and 63. Prabhura se adbhut charitra dekhiya Hindu char kahe se yavana pash giya eka sannyasi aila Jagannath haite aneka siddha purusha hayatanhar sahite. The Muslim spy saw the wonderful characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when he returned to the Muslim governor, he told him, a mendicant has come from Jagannath Puri with many liberated persons. Verse 164. Nirantar kare sabe Krishna Sankirtan, sabe hase nache gaye kare krandana. All these saintly people incessantly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and they all laugh, dance, chant, and cry. Verse 165. Laksha laksha lok aise taha dekhi bare tanre dekhi punarapi yaite nare ghare. Many millions upon millions of people come to see him, and after they see him, they cannot return home. Verse 165-66. Say sabaloka hai bolera pray Krishna kahi nache kande gada gadi yai. All these people become like madmen. They simply chant the holy name of Krishna and dance. Sometimes they even cry and roll on the ground. Verse 167. Kahi bar katha nahe dekhila se jani tanhar prabhave tanre ishwar kari mani. Actually, these people cannot even be described. One can understand them only by seeing. Considering his influence, I accept him as a supreme personality of Godhead. Verse 168. Eta kahi se char Hari Krishna gaye, hase kande nache gaya bolera pray. After saying this, the messenger began to chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna. He also began to laugh and cry, dance and sing exactly like the madman. Verse number 69. Eta shuni yavanera manapiri gela apan vishwas udiya sthane pathaila. When the Muslim governor heard this, his mind changed. He then sent his secretary to represent the representative of the Orissan government. Verse 170. Vishwas Asiya Prabhura Charana Vandila Krishna Krishna Kahi Preme Vihvala Haila. The Muslim secretary came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he offered his respects to the lotus feet of the Lord and uttered the holy name of the Lord Krishna Krishna, he also was overwhelmed with the ecstatic love. Verse 171. Udiyake Tahe Namaste. Honest, he thought. The Muslim governor is a drunkard who has changed his mind. Verse number 175. Apane Mahaprabhu Tandra Mana Firaila Darshan Smarane Yandra Jagat Tarila. He must be Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself who has changed the Muslim's mind. Due to his presence and even due to his remembrance, the whole world is liberated. Purport from this we can understand, since the Muslim governor was a drunkard, Madhyapa, ordinarily there would have been no chance that he would change, but Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could turn anyone's mind to Krishna consciousness. One can be delivered from material existence simply by remembering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's holy name, or by visiting him. This Krishna consciousness movement is being spread throughout the world, but not even one Yavanam Lecha addicted to drinking could have changed and accepted Krishna consciousness without Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grace. People are often astonished to see how many thousands of Westerners converted to Vaishnavism. Generally, Westerns are addicted to meat eating, drinking, gambling, and illicit sex. Therefore, their taking up Krishna consciousness is astonishing. In India, especially, there is much astonishment at this. The answer is given here. Darshana Smarane Yandra Jagat Tarila. The change is made possible simply by remembrance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Western devotees are very sincerely chanting the holy names of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, people are being purified and their consciousness directed from Maya to Krishna. The word Vishwas refers to a secretary. This title is generally found among the Kayastha caste in the Hindu community. In Bengal, the title Vishwas is still used by the Kayasts. The word Vishwas means faithful, and Vishwasi is a person in whom one can place faith. Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur states that during the Muslim reign in Bengal, there was a secretariat entitled Vishwas Khana. The office of Vishwas Khana was a secretariat office in which only the most reliable people were employed. They were elected from the caste community, a community that will be very expert in managing business and government affairs. The secretariat or Vishwas Khana is generally a very reliable and faithful servant. Whenever some confidential service is neglected, whenever some confidential service was needed, these officers were employed. Okay. I'm hoping for the page to load up so I can move to verse number 176. Eta bali Vishwasera kahila vachan bhagya tanra asi karuka prabhu darshana. After thinking this, the Mahapatra immediately informed the Muslim secretary, "It is a great fortune for your governor. Let him come visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Okay. So, verse number 176. Eta bali Vishwasera kahila vachan bhagya tanra asi karuka prabhu darshana. After thinking this, the Mahapatra immediately informed the Muslim secretary, "It is great fortune for a governor. Let him come visit Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Verse 177. Pratita kariye yadi nirastar hena asibeka pancha sat vritya sangelena. However, let me make it understood that he should come here without weapons. He may bring with him 5 or 7 servants. Verse 178. Vishwas yena tanhare sakal kahila Hindu Veshadhari say Yavana Aila. The secretary returned to the Muslim governor and informed him of this news. Dressing himself like a Hindu, the Muslim governor then came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 179. Dura haite prabhu deki bhumete padiya dandavat kare ashru pulakit haina. After seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from a distant place, the Muslim governor fell to the ground and offered obeisances. Tears came to his eyes and he was jubilant with the ecstatic emotions. Verse 180, Mahapatra an Anila Tanre Kariya Samman Yoda Hathe Prabhu Age Laya Krishna Nam. Arriving in that way, Muslim governor was respectfully brought before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by the Mahapatra. The governor then stood before the Lord with folded hands and he chanted the holy name of Krishna. Verse 181. Adham Yavan Kule Kena Janmahaila Vidhi Mora Hindu Kule Kena Na Janmaila. The governor then submissively asked, why was I born in a Muslim family? This is considered a low birth. Why didn't Supreme Providence grant me birth in a Hindu family? Verse 182. Hindu Haile Paitama Tumar Charan Sannidhan Vyarth Mora Eideha Yoga Paran. If I had taken birth in a Hindu family, it would have been easy for me to remain near your lotus feet. Since my body is now useless, let me die immediately. Verse 183. Etashuni Mahapatra Avishta Hena Prabhu ke Karena Stuti Charane Dharya. Upon hearing the governor's submissive statement, the Mahapatra was overwhelmed with joy. He clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and began to offer the following prayers. Verse 184. Chandal Pavitra Yandra Shri Nam Shravane Hena Tumar E Jiva Paila Darshane. Simply by hearing your holy name, a Chandal, the lowest of men, can be purified. Now this conditioned soul has received your personal interview. Verse 185. Inhar ye e gati ithe ki vismay tomar darshan prabhav e matahaya. It is no wonder that this Muslim governor has attained such results. Simply by seeing you, all this is possible. Verse 186. Yan namadheya shravana no kirtanad yat prabhavanad yat smaranad api kavet kavachit shvado api sadhyah savanya kalpate kutah punaste bhagwan no darshanat. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of a person who see the Supreme Person face to face, even a person born in a family of dog eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. If he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of God or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers his obeisances, or even remembers him, purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.3.6. According to this verse, it does not matter what position a person holds. One may be the lowest of the low, a chandal, a dog eater, but if he takes chanting and hearing the holy name of the Lord, he is immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. This is especially true in this age of Kali. Harer Nam eva kevalam kalau nasti eva eva gatir anyatha. This is from Brihan Naradiya Puran 38.1-6. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. A person born in Brahman family cannot perform Vedic sacrifices until he is properly purified and has attained his sacred thread. However, according to the present verse of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that even a low-born person can immediately perform sacrifices if he sincerely chants and hears the holy names of the Lord. Sometimes envious people ask how Europeans and Americans in this Krishna consciousness movement can become Brahmins and perform sacrifices. They do not know that the Europeans and Americans have already been purified by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the proof of Shvado Api Sadyah Swanaya Kalpate. One may be born in a family of dog eaters, but if he can perform sacrifices simply by chanting the Mahamantra. So Mahamantra gives that power or that right or adhikar. Those who find fault in the Western Vaishnavas should consider the statement from Srimad Bhagavatam and commentary on this verse by Srila Jiva Goswami in this regard. Srila Jiva Goswami has stated that to become a Brahman, one has to wait for purification and undergo sacred thread ceremony, but a chanter of the holy name does not have to wait for the sacred thread ceremony. We do not allow devotees to perform sacrifices until they are properly initiated in the sacred thread ceremony. Yet, according to this verse, An offenseless chanter of the holy name is already fit to perform a fire ceremony, even though he is not doubly initiated by the sacred thread ceremony. This is the verdict given by Devahuti, the mother of Lord Kapil Dev, when he was instructing her in pure Sankhya philosophy. Verse 187. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tanre Kripa Drishti Kari Ashvasya Kahe Tumi Kaha Krishna Hari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then glanced with mercy at the Muslim governor. Giving him assurance, he asked him to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. Purport: it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy that he advises everyone, even Chandals, Mlechas and Yavanas, to chant the holy name of the Lord. In other words, one who has taken to the chanting of the holy names Krishna and Hari has already received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. The Lord's request to chant the holy name of Krishna is now extended to everyone in the world through the Krishna consciousness movement. Whoever follows Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions will certainly be purified, and one who sincerely chants the holy name offenselessly is already more than a Brahman. Unfortunately, there are many fools and rascals in India who do not allow Western Vaishnavas to enter certain temples. Such rascals do not clearly understand the Vedas. As stated previously, Yan Namadheya Shravananu Kirtanad Shravanaya Kalpate. Moving to verse number 188. Se kahe mor yadi kaila angikar ek ajna deha seva kari ye tomar. The Muslim governor then said, since you have so kindly accepted me, please give me some orders so that I can render you some service. Purport: if one is purified by following the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order, that is by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one must certainly be eager to render service to the Lord. This is the test. When one engages enthusiastically in the Lord's service, it is to be understood that he is reaping the results of chanting the names of Krishna and Hari. Verse 189. Go Brahmana Vaishnave Himsa Karyachi Apar Se Papa Haite Mora Hai Uka Nistar. The Muslim governor then prayed for liberation from the unlimited sinful reactions he has previously incurred by being envious of Brahmins and Vaishnavas and killing cows. Purport: by chanting the holy names of Krishna and Hari, one is certainly liberated from the reactions to such sinful activities as killing cows or insulting Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. It is most sinful to kill cows and insult Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. The karma incurred by such activity is very great, but one can immediately nullify all this karma by surrendering to Lord Krishna and chanting his holy name. After being released from one's sinful reactions, that is the karma, one becomes eager to serve the Lord. This is the test. Since the Muslim governor was immediately purified in the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could utter the names of Krishna and Hari. Consequently, he was eager to render some service, and the Lord, eager to fulfill his desire, immediately had the devotee Mukunda Datta informed the governor that there was some service to render. Verse number 190. Tabe Mukunda Datta kahe shuna Mahashay Ganga Tira Yaite Mahaprabhura Manahai. Mukunda Datta then told the Muslim governor, my dear sir, please hear, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wishes to go to the bank of the Ganges. Verse 191. Tahan yaite karatumi sahai prakar e bada ajna e bada upkar. Please give him all assistance so that he can go there. This is your first great order, and if you can comply, you will render a great service. Verse 192. Tabe se Mahaprabhura Charanavandiya Sabar Charanavandi Chale Risht Hena. After this, the Muslim governor offered praise to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well as to the lotus feet of all his devotees. After that, the governor departed. Indeed, he was very pleased. Verse 193. Mahapatra Tandra Sane Kaila Kola Kuli Anek Samagri Diya Karila Mitali. Before the governor left, the Mahapatra embraced him and offered him many gifts. He then thus established a friendship with him. Verse 194. Pratah Kale se Bahu Nauka Sajana Prabhu ke Anite Dila Vishwas Patana. The next morning, the governor sent his secretary with many nicely decorated boats to bring Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the other side of the river. Verse 195, Mahapatra chali aila Mahaprabhu rasane mlecha asi kaila prabhura charana vandane. The Mahapatra crossed the river with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when they reached the other shore, the Muslim governor personally received the Lord and worshipped his lotus feet. Verse 196, Eka naveen nauka tar madhye ghara swagane chadaila prabhu tahar upara. One of the boats had been newly constructed and it had a room in the middle. It was on this boat that they put Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Verse 197, Mahapatre Mahaprabhu karila vidaye kandite kandite se tire rahi chai. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the Mahapatra. Standing on the riverbank and looking at the boat, the Mahapatra began to cry. Verse 198, Jala dasyu bhai se yavana chalila dashanauka bhari bahu sanya sange nila. The Muslim governor then personally accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because of pirates, the governors took 10 boats full of many soldiers. Verse 199, Mantreshwara dushta nade par karaila Pichalda Paryanta se Yavana Aila. The Muslim governor accompanied Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu past Mantreshwar. This place was very dangerous due to pirates. He took the Lord to a place named Pichalda, which was near the Mantreshwar purport, the very wide mouth of the Ganges. Near present-day Diamond Harbour was called Mantreshwar. Through the Ganges, the boat entered the Rupanarayan river and reached the village of Pichalda. Pichalda and Mantreshwar are located very close together. After passing Mantreshwar, the Muslim governor accompanied the Lord as far as Pichalda. Verse 200, Tanre vidaye dila prabhu se grame haite se kale tanra prema cheshta na pari varnite. Finally, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade the governor farewell. The intense ecstatic love exhibited by the governor cannot be described. Purport, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to the Muslim governor at Pichalda. Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami herein states that the governor experienced symptoms of ecstatic love due to being separated from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These symptoms, he admits, cannot be described. Verse 201, Alaukika lila kare Shri Krishna Chaitanya ye iha shune tandra janma deha dhanya. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are all uncommon. Whoever listens to these activities becomes glorious and his life becomes perfect. Verse 202, Say Nauka Chadi Prabhu Aila Panihati Navi Kere Paraila Nij Kripa Sati. The Lord finally reached Panihati, and as an act of mercy, he gave the captain of the boat one of his personal garments. Verse number 203, Prabhu Aila Bali Loke haila kolahala manushya bharila subha kiba jalasthala. The place called Panihati was located on the bank of the Ganges. After hearing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, all kinds of men assembled both on land and on the water. Purport, the village of Panihati is situated on the banks of the Ganges near Khadadaha. Verse 204, Raghav Pandit Asi Prabhu Lena Gela Pathe Yaite Lok Bhide Kashte Shrishte Aila. At length, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was taken away from Raghav Pandit. There was a great crowd assembled along the way, and the Lord reached Raghav Pandit's residence with great difficulty. Verse 205, Ekadina Prabhu Tatha Kariya Nivas Prate Kumara Hatte Aila Yahan Srinivas. The Lord stayed at Raghav Pandit's place for only one day. The next morning he went to Kumarhatta where Srivas Thakur lived. This is verse 205. Purport, the present name of Kumarhatta is Hali Sahara. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted sannyas, Srivas Thakur left Navadvip due to separation from him and went to Hali Sahara to live. From Kumarhatta, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Kanchanpalli, also known as Kanchara Pada, where Shivananda Sen lived. After staying 2 days at Shivananda's house, the Lord went to the house of Vasudev Datta. From there he went to the western side of Navadvip, to the village called Vidyanagar. From Vidyanagar he went to Kulyagram and stayed there at Madhava Dasa's house. He stayed there 1 week and excused the offences of Devananda and others. Due to Kaviraj Goswami's mentioning the name of Shanti Puracharya, Some people think that Kulia is a village near Kancharapada. Due to this mistaken idea, they invented another place known as New Kuliyar Pata. Actually, such a place does not exist. Leaving the house of Vasudev Datta, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of Advaita Acharya. From there, he went to the western side of Navadvip to Nidhyanagar and stayed at the house of Vidya Vachaspati. These accounts are given in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Chandroday Natak, and Chaitanya Charita Kavya. Srila Kaviraj Goswami has not vividly described this entire tour. Therefore, on the basis of Chaitanya Charitamrita, some unscrupulous people have invented a place called Kuliyar Pata near Kancharapada. Verse 206. Tahan haite age gela Shivanandakara. Vasudev Grihe Pache Aila Ishwara. From the house of Shivas Thakur, the Lord went to the house of Shivanand Sena and then to the house of Vasudev Datta. Verse 207. Vachaspati Grihe Prabhu Yamate Rahila Lok Bheda Bhai Aiche Kuliya Aila. The Lord remained sometimes at the house of Vidya Vachaspati, and then because it was too crowded, he went to Kuliya. This is verse 207. Purport: the house of Vidya Vachaspati was located at Vidyanagar. This is a long purport, which was near Kola Dvipa or Kuliya. This was here that Devanand Pandit was residing. The information is found in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Khanda, chapter 21. The Chaitanya Chandroday Natak, the following statement is given about Kuliya. Tatah Kumar Hatte Shrivas Pandita Vatyam Abhaya Yau. From there, the Lord went to the house of Shrivas Pandit in Kumarhatta. Tato Dvaita Vaityam Abheta Harita Sena Bhivanditas Tathaiva Tarani Vartamana Mana Nava Dipasya Pare Kuliya Nama Grame Madhav Das Vatayam Uttiranavan Evam Sapta Dinani Tatra Sthitva Punastata Vartamana Eva Chalitvan. The house of Shivas Acharya, the Acharya went to the house of Advaita Acharya, where he was offered obeisances by Haridas Thakur. The Lord then took a boat to the other side of Navadvip to a place called Kuliya, where he stayed 7 days at the house of Madhav Das. He then proceeded along the banks of the Ganges in the Sri Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya. It is stated that Anya Dyuhe Sa Shri Navadvip Bhume Pare Gangam Paschime Gwapi Deshe Shriman Sarva Praninam Tad Angair Netrandam Samyog Agatya Dene. The Lord went to the western ghat side of the Ganges at Navadvip, and everyone was pleased to see the Lord. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat Antekhan chapter 3, it is stated Sarva Parishad Sange Shri Gaurasundaro Achambite Asi Uttarila Tanra Gara. The Lord suddenly came to Vidyanagar with a full party and stayed there in the house of Vidya Vachaspati, Navadvip, Pavadi, Padi, Sarvadike, Haila, Dhvani. Thus, throughout the Navadvip, the Lord's arrival was made known. Vachaspati Ghare Aila Nyasi Chudamani. Thus, the chief of all the Sannyasi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, arrived at the house of Vidya Vachaspati. As further stated, Ananta Arbuda Loka Bali Hari Hari Chali Lena Dekhi Bare Gauranga Shri Hari. This looks like a Bengali poem. I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to read the translation. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Vidya Vachaspati's house, many hundreds of thousands of people went to see him and chant the Harinam of Sri Hari. It was so crowded that people could not even find a place to walk. Therefore, they made room by clearing out the jungles near the village. Many roads were automatically excavated, and many people also came by boat to see the Lord. So many came that it was difficult for the boatmen to get them across the river. When Vidya Vachaspati suddenly arrived, he made arrangements for many boats to receive these people, but the people would not wait for the boat. Somehow or other, they crossed the river and hurried toward the house of Vidya Vachaspati. Due to this great crowd, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu secretly went to Kulyanagar after the Lord left Vidyanagar. However, all the people heard news of his leaving. Then they accompanied Vachaspati to Kulyanagar. Since the news of the Lord's arrival was immediately broadcast, large crowds arrived and greeted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great jubilation. Indeed, when the crowd went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, It increased 10,000 times in number. No one could say how many people crossed the river to see him, but many hundreds of thousands made a great tumult when crossing the river Ganges. After crossing the river, however, began to embrace one another because they heard the good news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival. Thus all the inhabitants of Kulia, the sinful, intermediate and spiritually advanced, were delivered and glorified by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as stated in Chaitanya Bhagavad Antekhanda chapter 6. Khana Yoda Badagachi Araduga Chia Gangar Upar Kabhu Yayen Kulia. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Khana Yoda, Badagachi and Doga Chia and then crossed the Ganges before arriving in Kulia, as stated in Chaitanya Mangal. Ganga Snan Kari Prabhu Radha Desh Diya, Krame Krame Uttarila Nagar Kulia, Mayara Vachane Punah Gela Navadvipa, Varakona Ghat Nij Vadira Sampada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu walked through Radha Desh and gradually arrived at the Ganges. After bathing in the river, he crossed it and went to Kulia. Because he had promised his mother he would return to Navadvip, he went to Varakona Ghat, a village near his house. In the commentary of Premadas, it is said, Nadiyar Majha Khane Sakal Lokete Jane Kulia Pahadpura Namesthane. Everyone knows that in the middle of Nadia is a village named Kulia Pahadpura. Sri Narhari Chakravarti or Ghanshyam Das has written in his Bhakti Ratnakar, Kulia Pahadpur Dekha Srinivas Purve Koladvip Parvatakya a Prachar. He said, O Srinivas, see the town of Kulia Pahadpur, which was previously known as Koladvipa. In a book named Navadvipa Dham Parikrama, also written by Ghanshyam Das, it is stated, Kulia Pahadpura Grama Purve Koladvipa Parvatakyananda Nama. The town of Kuliadvip Pahadpur was previously named Koladvipa Parvatakyananda. Therefore, one can conclude that the present-day city of Navadvip and the places known as Bahir Dvipa, Koler Ganja, Kola Amada, Koler Daha, Gada Khali, etc. were known as Kulia, but the so-called Kulia Rajpatta is not the original Kulia. Verse 208, Madhav Das Grihe Tatha Shachira Nandan Laksha Koti Lok Tatha Paila Darshana. When the Lord stayed at the house of Madhav Das, many hundreds of thousands of people came to see him. Purport: Madhav Das is identified as follows in the family of Shrikar Chattopadhyay. Yudhishthira Chattopadhyay took his birth. Formerly, he and his family members lived in Bilvagram and Patuli. From there, he went to Kulia Pahadpur, formerly known as Padapur. The eldest son of Yudhishthira Chattopadhyay was known as Madhav Das. The second son was called Haridas, and the youngest son was called Krishnasum Patti Chattopadhyay. The three brothers' nicknames were Chakadi, Tinakadi, and Dukadi. The grandson of Madhav Das was named Vamsi Vadana. And during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his grandson Ramchandra and their descendants were still living at Vagna Pad or Venchi. Verse 209, Sat din rahi tatha lok nistarila sab apradhi gane prakare tarila. The Lord stayed there for 7 days and delivered all kinds of offenders and sinners. Verse 210, Shanti Purachare grihe aiche aila shachi mata mili Tandra Dukha Khandaila. After leaving Kulia, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the house of Advaitacharya near Shantipur. It was there that Lord's mother Shachimata met him and was thus relieved of her great unhappiness. Verse 211, Tabe Ramkeli Grame Prabhu Yaiche Gela Natashala Haite Prabhu Punah Phiri Aila. The Lord then visited the village known as Ramakeli and the place known as Kanai Natshala. From there he returned to Shantipura. Verse 212, Shantipure Punaha Kaila Dasha Dina Vasa Vistari Varniyachena Vṛndāvana Das. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in Shantipura for 10 days. This has all been described very elaborately by Vṛndāvana Das Thakur. Verse 213, Atev ihan tar na kailun vistar punarakuti punarakti haya grantha badai apar. I will not narrate these incidents because they will have already been delivered described by Vṛndāvana Das Thakur, there is no need to repeat the same information, for such repetition would unlimitedly increase the size of this book. Verse number 214 and 15. तारा मध्य में लीला याइछे रूप सनातन नृसिंहानंद कैला याइछे पथे रसर्जन. सूत्र मध्य से लीला अमित वर्णिलुन, अतएव पुनः ताह इहान ना लिखाइलुन. Those narrations till now Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met the brothers Rupa and Sanatan, and how Nrsimhananda decorated the road. I have already described these in earlier synopsis of this book, therefore I will not repeat the narrations here. Purport: this information is given in Adi Lila 10.35 and Madhya Lila 1.155 to 162 and 175 to 226. Verse 216. Punarapi Prabhu yadi Shantipur aila, Raghunath Das asi Prabhure milila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Shantipur, Raghunath Das came to meet him. Verse 217. We will continue from next time. Thank you for joining. Hare Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.